We've got Rice Krispies on a dog. It's like a chimp's tea party, isn't it? Can I have some poached eggs, please, when you get a chance? What's your favourite car, Mom? A digger. A digger.
She's telling everyone off.
Shh, Monty, get down! Get down!
Hey.
Ollie!
Hey. Hi, darling.
No, I haven't seen the children.
Hey. Hi.
Right. Who's your favourite driver, Bluey?
Lewis Hamilton.
You're winding me up now, aren't you? You're winding me up. Who's your favourite driver?
Sebastian.
Sebastian! Who's your favourite driver?
Say Max Verstappen.
Oh, we got a Max man!
And Daddy.
And Daddy. Daddy's not the driver, though.
Christian, who's your favourite driver?
Who's my favourite driver?
Come on, tell the truth.
Well, who was ever winning for us? Last season we lost Daniel Ricciardo. I say his name right.
Ricciardo?
Is it Ricardo? Ricardo? He only drove for us for 5 years. So Ricardo. Yeah, we lost Daniel Ricciardo. For us, that was slightly unexpected.
All right, good, that's great.
Remove the smile, be a bit more intense.
Couple more, hold it. Nice, Max. Okay.
Max is arguably the hottest property in Formula One at the moment.
A little bit more smile with your eyes. Yep, there. Good, that's great.
So we had to think long and hard about who would be the right teammate for Max Verstappen.
Pull your helmet back a little bit if you can.
It's a tough gig.
Nice. That first look up. Money. So good.
Looking within our own talent pool to step into that seat, Pierre Gasly was the obvious candidate.
And that's Pierre Gasly. He's come fourth for Toro Rosso. That's one of their greatest Grand Prix finishes.
Product of the Red Bull Junior team, he stepped up into the lead team.
Coming to Red Bull was a really special moment.
I tried to stay calm, even though inside me it was like so much fire and I wanted to explode.
Nice. Big smiles.
Here he is. I didn't see you. You get that? No, I was like, why are they laughing at me?
I'm sorry, Pierre. We didn't mean to laugh at you.
Money!
Money.
Hello,
Who the fuck are you?
I'm Pierre Gasly, and you?
Now, Max is extremely impressive for a 21-year-old.
Race winner. What a debut. Fantastic.
At the Barcelona race in 2016, winning on his debut.
Well done to Max Verstappen.
18 years of age. But don't underestimate Pierre Gasly. He's a great talent.
What is your earliest memory of racing each other?
You know what I'm gonna say, right? You know what I'm gonna say. 2010 La Conca. Yeah. You fucking bastard. Wow. So the story was I had to start every heat, 6 heats on Friday and Saturday behind Pierre. But how many times did I push Pierre off the track in the first corner?
But this is actually my first memory as well, like really fighting each other.
The biggest question mark we have is he going to be up to the task, delivering at the kind of level of Max Verstappen? Monaco's the big event of the year. Morning. Last year was a fantastic race for us, winning the Grand Prix. So there's that pressure. Everybody's expecting to see the Red Bull cars near the front of the field.
Morning, gents. All right, morning, Nige.
You think?
We'll see.
Nice.
Monaco is really something that gives me goosebumps. There's no track in the calendar that is that challenging for us drivers, so it's a mental challenge. Max is one, if not the best driver on the grid at the moment, so pushes me because I know it's possible to achieve these kind of performances.
I think what is the most important is that we get the best out of each other, and that's, at the end of the day, the best also for the team.
Of course, both drivers get exactly the same equipment. You are measured directly against your teammate.
You good?
And we need both of those cars scoring as many points as we possibly can. Are you driving today or not?
Am I driving?
Are you driving this morning or?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just hanging out. Just make sure the car looks like that at the end of the session, yeah? Pierre Gasly, his career at Red Bull Racing, it got off to a horrible start. He crashed twice in pre-season testing. Did close to €2 million worth of damage. That knocked his confidence. And Monaco is a track that is all about confidence. For Pierre, that just makes life even harder.
The car feels really good.
Lift your pace now.
Okay, copy. It's good.
Excellent, Pierre.
Fuck! Gasly makes a mistake. A cold shiver down his back, I'm sure now.
Ouch.
Can you see how close he came to
Yeah.
this?
He
caught it nicely.
Yeah. Then needed to come in and change his underwear. I think.
He did too.
Where I lose a lot is the chicane.
Yes,
Yeah.
right-hander, you seem to come in
Later.
later. I see you taking a later apex.
Yeah, and then after I'm also slower, so I go on the gas.
And then you've got a bigger turn.
For the left
It looks
one.
like for the left.
Yeah, for sure it's wrong. I don't need anyone to tell me that's what you need to do, because the target they set me is lower than the one I set to myself. That's the way I work.
Street race, don't be a hero.
Yeah, in the first lap.
In the first fucking lap.
Yeah.
Okay?
Just go with the track.
Yeah.
I mean, the circuit's going to be horrible. Just keep building up, building up, building up.
Yeah, no, it's good.
All the French drivers go well here. It's almost like compulsory, so it'll be all right. Formula One is all about pressure. We need Pierre to deliver week in, week out. The expectation is you've got to perform. And I think if he can do that here, that will just give him a lift in confidence and set him up nicely for the races ahead.
Seconds. Okay.
Take it. And the Monaco Grand Prix is go. Bottas tries to cover off Verstappen. It's wheel to wheel. Bottas just squeezes ahead. So it's Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen, the top three.
There's Pierre Gasly, down in 7th.
Monaco, it gives you so much adrenaline. Being as fast as you can, but without losing the concentration, otherwise you're in the wall. Your level of focus is just so high, you switch to a different mode. And conscious. You do based on your feeling, you just switch to a different person.
Keep doing this pace.
Okay.
Oh, and Leclerc's hit the barrier. He's got a right rear puncture. Pieces of Ferrari everywhere.
Okay, we've got a safety car.
Safety car.
Safety car. Keep your dash positive. Keep your dash positive. Max, box and confirm, Max. Box, pick confirm, mate.
Yeah.
So while the track is being cleared, the drivers dive into the pits for a change of tyres. Who's going to come out first?
Verstappen looks like he's ahead of Bottas. He is ahead of Bottas.
The Red Bull team have gained a position in the pits.
Verstappen now in 2nd. Pierre Gasly in 6th place, 4 places behind his teammate.
Yeah, keep looking after your tyres. Let's get this car home.
Okay, copy.
This is good, Max. Keep the pressure up.
How many laps to go?
10 laps to run.
Verstappen is really taking the fight to Lewis Hamilton here, the championship leader.
You can overtake Hamilton and drive into the distance.
I'm trying to.
I'll leave that with you, mate.
Come on.
Those tyres weren't feeling too good, huh? Left front is dead.
Okay, copy Lewis. Come on, Max. Keep the pressure up, mate.
Verstappen smells the victory here.
Car doesn't want to turn. His tyres aren't dead. He needs to hope for a miracle. Oh my ass. I think I'm in big trouble, guys.
Okay, Max. Last lap.
Yeah.
Thread the needle.
We got this.
I'm trying.
Here goes Verstappen! Oh, they made contact!
Shit.
That's a good effort, mate.
Hamilton wins the Monaco Grand Prix.
You drove like a lion today, Max. You gave it everything. It was so unlucky. Really unlucky. You drove it hard.
Yeah. You deserve more.
It will come. It will come.
Pierre Gasly with a 5th placed finish in the end.
Thanks, boys. It's good. The car was really super fast.
For Pierre, obviously he got a decent result in Monaco, but he was nowhere near the pace of the lead group.
Being a really competitive guy, I want everything to be perfect. Coming into a new team,
Formula One can take over your life.
Come on then, we're going to go see the helicopter.
For me, this year is busy. Obviously, my wife's busy with doing her stuff as well.
Give us a hug.
Bye, Daddy.
See you later.
Bye, babes. What, you just wanted me?
Come on, Geraldine, you'll be late for your own fucking concert.
Shush.
Stop right now. Thank you very much. Nobody with a human touch.
Got me.
You. Always on the run. Up on there.
Pierre, it's going to be a make or break season for him. He will be putting pressure on himself because he will obviously be looking to gauge himself against Max. And inevitably, the media will be looking at how does he compare. If he can find that confidence, he's a very capable racing driver. Whether he's at Max's level, I don't honestly know. Only time will tell. If he's capable of running at the front in Formula One.
I'm knackered. It's a big weekend.
Mine is like having to do 12 Monacos in the space of 3 weeks. Yeah, you get like 1 or 2 weeks off between each. I've got to do it like 1, then day off, another 2. I've got to do 3 in a row. Just saying. Oh my God.
Pick up your pace.
Yeah, I try to.
Gasly is but he's losing 4 tenths in the last 2 corners. Which I think you or I could do.
His pace looked quite a bit off his teammate.
Okay, mate, just keep building up to it. Yeah. The more you relax, the faster you go. Exactly. Yeah?
Pierre spends an awful lot of his time looking at data. Too much so. He's not driving on instinct. At this level, you can't do that. He needs to stop screwing his own head, measuring himself against Max, and let it flow.
Spectacular setting for the Canadian Grand Prix. What a thrilling race we have in prospect here this afternoon.
Radio check.
Radio okay.
There's a frustration that's building within the team. That's a big pressure on young shoulders. The difference that marks the greats out is how they deal with the big pressure moments. They embrace that pressure. And it's those high pressure moments that you get found out at.
I'm feeling confident. things are gonna work out, and then you will see.
Up to Ricciardo. Push, Pierre. Push.
Pierre Gasly starting to come under pressure.
Come on, come on.
We cannot keep doing this. Push, Pierre. Push.
Yeah, I try to.
It's a good start, Max. Take your time.
Okay. I still need to gain like 6-7 seconds, right?
We're about 3.5 seconds shy at the moment. And press and hold the overtake button.
Okay.
About racing and the driving on the limit of what you can do as a person, but then also being so close to the ground and being that quick, overtaking and stuff. Just confidence, feeling, and rhythm.
Here's Verstappen, he's up into 6th place.
Push, Pierre. Push, Pierre.
Pierre Gasly is behind by quite some margin.
Close up. Close up. Get past him quickly.
Lewis Hamilton wins the Canadian Grand Prix.
Max Verstappen charged up from 9th to finish 5th. But his teammate Pierre Gasly slid backwards to 8th.
Pierre, I forget the car that he was stuck behind, but there was nothing dynamic about the drive. We want the drivers to be heroes. If he crashes the car, trying, if he's going for it, I don't care. What we don't want to be doing is finishing 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th. That has no value to us.
No, honestly, I remember that weekend so much.
The first Grand Prix Formula One of Pierre, for us, is it's very, very amazing.
It's always fantastic to have my parents around. I don't really see them so much anymore, you know. I left home at 13. All the time I was in racing, in karting.
Avec le résultat que je viens de faire, j'espère tout gagner jusqu'à la fin de l'année.
It wasn't easy for my family. They gave everything they had, and they have been through difficult situations just to support me and try their best to make my dream happen.
C'est la première combinaison de karting de Pierre. Il la mettait quand il avait 9 ans, quand il a démarré la compétition. Je garde précieusement.
Donc tout le week-end, il avait sa combinaison sur le dos. Il l'enlevait juste pour dormir.
So, okay. I've spent only 1.5 years in Formula One, and of course things are not perfect. Max, he does the job perfectly, always extracting everything from the car, so I just need to use that and use the experience and the talent he has to develop myself even quicker.
The Red Bull Ring. It's our home race. We have a home crowd and huge expectations that go with that.
Also, Max Verstappen is here.
Red Bull has a reputation for being rather ruthless with drivers who don't perform up to the level of their teammates. Are you sort of worried?
No, not really. I think at the moment it's clear, you know, no one is happy, and I'm the first one not happy with the performance. And then, yeah, that's not pleasant, and no one is happy about it.
You know, he's just getting a head fuck at every race at the moment. Confidence then gets hit and becomes self-perpetuating, and the pressure just builds and builds and builds.
Question and then sometimes you go on they can only ask so many questions, so if you give a concise answer then helping yourself.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the situation with the rumors that you will lose your seat? Yeah, you're smiling, but that's not a fact of smiling.
I don't have anything to say, you know, rumors. All the media, like some of them, I just like to tell them fuck off, because some of these things are not fair. You know, a lot of people try to break your dreams. You gotta stay strong mentally and keep going.
Thank you. That wasn't easy.
Yeah.
All right.
He's shown flashes of real speed. That's what you're capable of. Now it's a matter of brushing himself down, ignoring all the negativity that he's getting, and to see if he can actually realize the potential that we know and still think that he has. It's now down to him to turn this situation round.
Let's get it done early. Let's do it.
Yeah, I hear you.
Verstappen making it look easy out there. Next up, Raikkonen.
Verstappen now up into 5th place.
Yes, boys, come on.
Yes, boys, indeed. Nice job. Get past him quickly, get through.
Oh, and Gasly is struggling to find a way past him.
You can't stay there, Pierre. Increase your pace. Excellent. Come on, mate.
All good.
Verstappen is up into the podium positions, and they absolutely love that. Max Verstappen manages to clear Valtteri Bottas.
Yes.
Well done, Max.
And he's back up to 2nd once again. Verstappen, there is no stopping him today.
Pierre Gasly could well be lapped by his teammate.
There's the blue lights flashing, warning him he's about to be lapped.
The leader, Leclerc, is behind Max, right behind him.
Gasly is duty bound to get out of the way.
Charles Leclerc leads the Austrian Grand Prix. Max Verstappen behind him.
All right, this is game on.
Leclerc goes off the track. Max Verstappen. He leads the Austrian Grand Prix.
Yeah, it's gone! Yes!
Absolute class of the field. Awesome.
Verstappen wins the Austrian Grand Prix.
Amazing! Amazing! Fucking hell! We needed that one. Wow, mate. Oh, God. Great job, boys.
P7, Pierre. Max, 1. Yeah.
Congrats to Max. Was pretty hard again.
Max, you drove a mighty race. You are the man. I mean, what a race. We're so proud of you.
2 in a row, Christian, at home, not too bad.
Amazing. Honda's first win as well. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, amazing job, guys.
Super, Max.
Suddenly, things are coming alive for us, and we're fighting. You know, the momentum is with us.
I'm fucking fast, but the horn is so fucking slow. I just need to find like the right thing for me. I think there were still some positive today, but I pushed too much at the beginning, and when I was behind Raikkonen, I pushed too much, and then after I started to have the blister, it makes things worse. Not diving fast. Max wins, so at least we know what to do.
We got a good cut.
The targets.
You know, if they're good enough, they swim, they survive. If they're not good enough, the question is, who is the right guy to be partnering Max Verstappen?
This is the living room.
That's dining room.
Dining room.
Red Bull's an impatient machine.
It's such a dangerous sport.
Holy jeez.
He would have given his right arm to be in your position.
Alex Albon, brilliant move.
Can you win this weekend?
We'll speak later.
You can occasionally kiss if you want.
Showtime.
hadn't mentioned was that the oven shouldn't be set to max. When Rodney opened the oven door, a cloud of acrid, black smoke billowed out, filling the flat. My organizers, Rodney screamed, waving a tea towel. They're melting. Del, they're literally melting together. Del Boy ran into the kitchen, coughing. Oh, bloody hell. It's a modern art installation. Quick, Rodney, get a photo. We can sell it as a commentary on the digital age. It's not art, Del. It's 2,000 pounds of debt turning into a plastic pancake. The smell was unbearable. Raquel came in, holding her nose. What in God's name is going on? The neighbors are calling the fire brigade. It's a technical glitch, Raquel, Del shouted. A minor manufacturing defect. Rodney, stop crying and get the spatulas. We might be able to save a few of the calculators. They spent the next 3 hours scraping melted plastic off the oven racks. Out of the 200 organizers, only 3 survived, and even those only worked if you held them at a 45-degree angle and shouted at them in Japanese. Well, Del said, looking at the small pile of charred plastic, at least we've still got the scrap copper. The scrap copper that you found in a skip, Rodney whispered, his voice broken. The copper that's currently sitting in the hallway smelling like dead pigeons? It's a start, Rodney. An entrepreneur always starts small. We'll go down the yard tomorrow. We'll get a few quid. We'll buy a lottery ticket. And before you know it, don't say it, Del, Rodney groaned. Just don't say it. Chapter 20, The Midnight Sweep. The final indignity arrived at 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Del Boy, dressed in a high-visibility vest that was several sizes too large, stood on a deserted street corner in Peckham. In his hand was a heavy, industrial broom. Trigger was next to him, looking perfectly at home. It's a good shift, this one. Del, not many people are out to bother you. Just the wind and the wrappers. Del looked down at his broom. He thought about the silk shirts, the gold-leafed villas, and the sound of the Sotheby's gavel. He thought about the millions he had held in his hand, and the way it had slipped through his fingers like sand. Trig, Del said, his voice barely a whisper. How did I end up here? You walked, Del, from the flat. It's only 10 minutes. Del smiled. He started to sweep. The rhythmic sound of the bristles against the pavement was strangely soothing. He swept up a discarded lottery ticket, a crushed beer can, and a crumpled newspaper. You know what, Trig? Del said, his spirits beginning to rise. This isn't so bad. It's honest work, and it gives me time to think, to plan, to strategize. Strategize what, Del? The next big one, Trig. I've been thinking about those singing fish. If we can find a supplier who makes 'em with a built-in organizer. Well, mange tout, Trig, mange tout. Trigger nodded. I like fish. And there, in the quiet streets of Peckham, under the flickering orange glow of the streetlights, Derek Trotter began his comeback. He wasn't a millionaire anymore. He was a bankrupt road sweeper with a melted plastic dream and a skipful of copper wire. But as the first light of dawn began to touch the top of Nelson Mandela House, Del Boy looked at the horizon and winked. Because the Trotters were back. And this time, they meant business. The end of Volume I. The Trotter Chronicles, From Gold to Grit. A novelization by Gemini. Prologue, The Man in the Sharp Suit. The air in the office was thick with the scent of expensive mahogany and the faint, clinical aroma of high-end air purifiers. Justin, a man whose skin looked like it had been buffed by a professional at a Swiss spa, leaned back in his leather chair. He adjusted his glasses, looking at the two men sitting across from him. One of them, Derek Del Boy Trotter, was a man who looked like he belonged in a very different kind of office one, with a calendar of a local garage on the wall and the lingering smell of cigar smoke and hopeful desperation. Del was dressed in what he considered his business best, a suit that shimmered just a bit too much under the fluorescent lights, and enough gold jewelry to make a pirate blush. Next to him sat Rodney, younger, leaner, and perpetually looking like he had just realized he'd left the oven on at home. Rodney was sweating, not the confident sweat of an athlete, but the cold, clammy moisture of a man who knew his brother was about to say something that would embarrass them both for the next century. "I've got all the basic details about your business career," Justin began, his voice smooth and devoid of any Peckham grit. "But what I'd like to do is to get an insight into the real you, how you started, how you became so successful, but more importantly, your lives and your raison d'etre." Del Boy's eyes lit up. He didn't know what a raison d'etre was, but it sounded French, and in Del's world, French meant class. "Oh, no," Del whispered to Rodney, "Laboratory Garni." Rodney closed his eyes and prayed for the floor to open. "It's not Laboratory Garni. Del," he hissed, "he's asking for our reason for being." "Exactly what I said. Prove," Del snapped back, before turning to Justin with a smile that could sell ice to an Eskimo and then charge him for the delivery. "Well, Justin, where shall I start? Up to a few years ago, we were just very ordinary people living. Well, very ordinary lives. Weren't we, Rodney?" And so, the story began. A story of a watch found in a garage, a fortune made in an instant, and a fall so spectacular it made the Hindenburg look like a minor fender bender. Chapter 1, The Caribbean Dream. The sun over Barbados didn't just shine, it announced itself. It turned the turquoise water into a sheet of diamonds and the white sand into something so bright it hurt to look at without designer sunglasses, which, of course, the Trotters were wearing. Only a few months prior, the Trotters had been living in a council flat in Peckham, wondering if the hooky VCers they were selling would last through the first reel of Rambo. Then came the watch, an 18th century Harrison marine chronometer hidden in their garage for decades. It had sold at Sotheby's for £6.5 million. In an instant, Derek Trotter, the man who once sold one-legged turkeys at Christmas, was a multimillionaire. "Look at this, Rodney," Dell had said, leaning over the balcony of their private villa. He was holding a glass of something blue with a miniature umbrella in it. Total luxury. This is what we were born for. Mange tout, Rodney, mange tout. Rodney was sitting in a hammock, trying to read a book on sociology, but failing because Cassandra kept applying sun cream to his back. It's a bit much, isn't it, Dell? 6 months ago we were sharing a bathroom with a leak that Uncle Albert called characterful. Characterful. It was a health hazard. Dell laughed. But look at us now. We've divvied the dosh up. We made sure Uncle Albert got a nice little drink, figuratively speaking, though knowing him, he's probably literally drinking most of it down on the coast with Elsie Partridge. They had been the kings of the island. They donated to charity mostly because Dell liked the gala dinners, and they invested. Oh, how they invested. Dell had met a man in a bar, a visionary, Dell called him. A con artist, Rodney had countered. The man spoke of Central American markets, of vibrant ventures, and emerging economies. He spoke of turning millions into billions. It was a royal mint, Rodney. Dell shouted into the tropical wind. We were making money while we slept. But the Caribbean sun has a way of blinding you to the clouds on the horizon. Chapter 2. The Sound of the Crash. The end didn't come with a bang. It came with a phone call and a decline message on a credit card at a 5-star hotel. What do you mean? Insufficient funds, Dell had barked at the hotel manager, his gold rings clacking against the marble countertop. Do you know who I am? I'm Derek Trotter. I've got more money than the Sultan of Brunei's paperboy. The manager was polite but firm. The Central American market hadn't just dipped, it had evaporated. A coup, a currency collapse, and a series of creative accounting errors by their visionary friend had turned the Trotter fortune into a pile of worthless digital ash. Rodney, Dell whispered, his face turning a shade of gray that matched the London fog they had tried so hard to escape. The negotiations. They've collapsed. Collapsed. Rodney felt his stomach drop. Dell, we put everything into that venture. The houses, the stocks, the peacocks. I know. Dell said, his bravado finally cracking. We've even paid for this hotel on a credit card. A credit card which has now been withdrawn. The journey back to the UK was a blur of cramped airplane seats and the crushing realization that the dream was over. They weren't returning to a hero's welcome. They were returning to a financial wilderness. And it wasn't just them. Back in Peckham, the ripples of their failure were turning into waves. Michael Fisher, the landlord of the Nag's Head and a man who had trusted Dell with his life savings was now behind bars. He had remortgaged the pub to follow the Trotter gold mine, and when it collapsed, he had tried to recoup the losses by embezzling from the brewery. He was a desperate man, and Dell felt the weight of every brick in Mike's prison cell. Chapter 3, The Court of Peckham. The corridors of the courthouse felt like a tomb. Denzel, a man whose nerves were usually held together by habit and hope, was pacing so fast he was nearly burning a hole in the linoleum. Denzel, sit down, Albert's voice echoed. Denzel stopped and looked at the group gathered. There was Trigger, looking as vacant as a Sunday morning in a library. There was Boyke, looking smug despite the circumstances. And there was Sid, the cafe owner, who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "I can't, Albert," Denzel groaned. "I've never been a character witness before. I'm worried. I think those made a terrible mistake having us for here. It's like inviting the Manson family to dinner." "Don't be so dramatic," Trigger said, staring at a fly on the wall. "I'm going to tell them I hear voices." "Trigger, you're not the one on trial," Denzel hissed. "I know," Trigger replied simply, "but I still hear voices." Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was even grimmer. The Inland Revenue was a beast that didn't care about mange tout or lovely jubbly. They wanted their pound of flesh, and they wanted it in sterling. Dell and Rodney stood before the judge. The properties were gone. The cars were gone. The peacocks had probably been repossessed by a very confused bailiff. "Are there any mitigating circumstances?" their lawyer asked. Dell stepped forward, adjusting his tie. "Oh, yes, you must remember to tell them that we were slaves to detail, wouldn't you, Rodney? We made certain that we always got our checks off to the Inland Revenue on time." "Always," Rodney added, his voice cracking. "Fair dues," Dell whispered as the judge looked down at them. "They bounced, but they was always on time." The verdict was swift. Bankruptcy. They weren't going to prison, not yet, but they were being stripped of everything. The debt stood at $48,750 for pounds. It was a number that haunted those dreams. It wasn't just money, it was the price of his pride. Chapter 4, The Wrong Gentleman. Amidst the financial ruins, a personal tragedy struck. Uncle Albert, the man who had survived the Battle of the Atlantic only to be nearly killed by those cooking 1,000 times, had passed away. The funeral was a somber affair, or it should have been. The Trotters arrived at the cemetery, faces long and hearts heavy. "I feel bad, you know," Dell whispered to Rodney as they walked toward the open grave, "leaving him here on his own while we was all off globe-trotting." "He wasn't on his own, Dell," Rodney said. "He had Elsie. He was happy." They stood by the grave, listening to the vicar speak of a man named Bunny who had served in the RAF. Bunny. Dell frowned. Why did he call him Bunny? Well, That's what they called him in the RAF, didn't they? A stranger next to them whispered, because his surname was Warren. Del froze. He looked at the headstone. He looked at the grieving widow, who was definitely not Elsie Partridge. He looked at the photo of the deceased man who looked remarkably like Albert, but was missing the signature during the war beard. Rodney, Del hissed, his eyes wide. Is that a Spitfire on the coffin? Yeah, Rodney whispered back. We're at the wrong funeral. They retreated with the quiet dignity of two men who had just realized they were mourning a complete stranger. It was the perfect metaphor for their lives, showing up with good intentions, only to realize they were in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong dead relative. Chapter 5. New Management. Back at Nelson Mandela House, the flat felt smaller than it used to. The wallpaper was peeling, and the ghost of their millionaire lifestyle lingered in the form of a single, half-empty bottle of expensive cognac. The firm's been liquidated, Rodney said, staring at the kitchen table. Trotter's Independent Traders is no more. It's Capit. No, 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 Del said, his mind racing. The firm can go on trading. It's just that I've been disqualified from running it. That doesn't mean to say I can't work for it. He looked at Rodney, really looked at him. We need a new managing director, Del mused. Someone young, someone enthusiastic, someone full of ideas. Rodney looked around the room. Who? The window cleaner. No, Rodney, you. Rodney's jaw dropped. Me? Del, I can't run a company. I can't even run a bath without getting a headache. Legally, there is nothing to stop you, Del insisted. You're clean. No bankruptcy. No disqualification. You'd be the boss. Rodney Trotter, managing director. And so, the power dynamic shifted. Within days, the local paper carried a small advertisement, Trotter's Independent Traders, now under new management. Managing director, Rodney Trotter. Rodney took to the role with a terrifying level of seriousness. He started wearing a tie at breakfast. He spoke about executive stress and logistical paradigms. He even tried to listen to Mozart to unwind. Mozart's Symphony No. 38 in D major, Rodney explained to Trigger one evening in the flat. I find it helps me ease my executive stress. Trigger nodded slowly. Ain't there no words to this, Dave? No, Trigger, it's instrumental. Del watched his brother with a mix of pride and annoyance. He was back in the game, even if he was technically just the staff. But the debt to the taxman still loomed. They needed a big score. They needed a miracle. And then the phone rang. Chapter 6, The Gold Rush. The studio lights were blinding. Jonathan Ross, a man who seemed to be made of charisma and expensive hair products, smiled at the camera. Welcome to Gold Rush, he announced, the fastest game show on TV. This is the show where you can win anything from £1 to 100,000 pounds. In the contestant's seat sat Derek Trotter. He had lied about his hobbies, claiming to love 16th century Italian Renaissance art instead of seeing what fell off the back of a lorry. And he had navigated the early rounds with the cunning of a street fox. He reached the final stages. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knockoff Swiss Army knife. For 50,000 pounds, Derek Jonathan Ross said, leaning in, which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Del felt the sweat prickling under his shimmery suit. He knew this, or he thought he knew it, but his brain was a jumble of French phrases and Peckham market prices. I'm going to have to use me old SOS, aren't I? Del said, his voice trembling. I'll call my brother, Rodney. Back at the flat, Rodney and Cassandra were dressed in their fantasy therapy outfits, Rodney as a gladiator and Cassandra as a police officer. It was supposed to be a quiet night of memory baggage unloading. The phone screamed. Hello. Rodney snapped, assuming it was their annoying neighbor, Mickey Piers. Piss off, Mickey, you're getting on my tits now. Rodney, it's Jonathan Ross. The silence that followed was deafening. Rodney realized he had just told one of the most famous men in Britain to piss off. Rodney, we need your help, Jonathan said, hurried. Derek is on 25,000, going for 50. Which classical guitarist wrote the opera The Child and the Enchantment? Was it Ravel, Segovia, or Rodrigo? Rodney didn't hesitate. He had to GC's. He had been listening to Mozart for a week. He was an executive. Ravel, Rodney said with absolute certainty. 100%. Del, it's Ravel. Del turned back to the camera, his chest puffed out. I'll go with that, Jonathan. It's Ravel. Jonathan Ross looked at him with a face full of pity. Derek, that was the wrong answer. It was Rodrigo. The world seemed to stop spinning. Del's face went through every shade of red known to man. He had lost it all. Again. On national television. Chapter 7, The Phoenix of Peckham. The silence in the flat that night was heavy. Del sat on the sofa, still wearing his game show suit, staring at the floor. Raquel was in the kitchen, and Rodney was hiding in his room, probably trying to find a way to dismantle his gladiator armor without making a sound. The phone rang. If that's Mickey Piers, Del growled, picking it up. I'm going to murder him. Hello, is this Derek Trotter? A voice asked. It sounded professional. This is the producer of Gold Rush. Del rolled his eyes. Oh, give it a rest, Mickey. I can hear the jukebox in the Nag's Head from here. No, Mr. Trotter. This is serious. We've made a mistake. Our researchers checked the facts. Ravel did write the music for The Child and the Enchantment. Even though he's a composer and not primarily a guitarist, the question was flawed. Del sat up straight. A mistake? You mean I was right? You were right. We're offering you the £50,000 or the chance to come back and play for the 100,000. Dell looked at the room. He looked at Rodney, who had peeked his head out of the bedroom door. He looked at Raquel, who was standing in the doorway with hope in her eyes. Give all the money to charity, Dell shouted into the phone, his old bravado returning in a rush of adrenaline. And if you phone here once again, I'm going to come down there and kick your arse into shredded duck. Goodbye. He slammed the phone down. Dell, Rodney screamed. What are you doing? That was 50 grand. Dell started to laugh. A deep, wheezing Peckham laugh. It was Mickey Pierce, Rodney. I could hear the jukebox. He thought he could wind me up, but nobody winds up Derek Trotter. He stood up, adjusting his cuffs. We're the Trotters, Rodney. We don't need charity. We're back in business. New management, new ideas. This time next year. Rodney sighed, but he couldn't help but smile. We'll be millionaires? No, Dell said, throwing an arm around his brother's shoulder. This time next year, we'll be debt free. And that, Rodney, is bonjour. It's bonjour, Dell, Rodney corrected. Exactly what I said. Prove exactly what I said. The neon sign of the Nag's Head flickered in the distance, a beacon of hope in the heart of Peckham. The Trotters were down, but they were never out. Because as long as there was a deal to be made and a brother to blame, the dream would never die. Chapter 8. The Cold Light of Day. The following morning did not bring the clarity Del Boy had hoped for. Instead, it brought a pounding headache and the lingering suspicion that he might have made a catastrophic tactical error. He sat at the Formica table in the kitchen, nursing a mug of tea that was mostly sugar. Rodney stumbled in, looking disheveled. Del, Rodney said, his voice flat. I've been thinking about that phone call last night. Forget it, Rodney, Dell snapped. Mickey Pierce, professional wind-up merchant, probably recorded the whole thing to play at the pub later. Low D toilet, Rodney. Water under the bridge. Dell, I went to the pub this morning to get some milk because the fridge is on the blink again. And Mickey Pierce was there. He looked as miserable as a rainy Tuesday in Margate. Apparently, his latest business ventures selling laser-cut toast just failed. He didn't even have enough credit on his phone to make a prank call. Del froze, his mug halfway to his lips. What? And there's more. Sid showed me the morning paper. There's a small headline on page 12. Game show blunder. BBC apologizes to Peckham contestant over classical music gaffe. The silence in the kitchen was heavy. You could hear the distant rumble of the 171 bus and the slow, rhythmic dripping of the leaky tap. So, Del whispered, his voice barely audible. It wasn't Mickey. It was the producer. Del, you told the BBC to give £50,000 to charity in the name of the Trotters. Del Boy put his mug down, He stared at the wall, at the framed picture of their mother. Well, he said, his voice suddenly bright and brittle, at least we'll get a plaque or a mention in the newsletter. It's tax deductible, ain't it? We don't pay tax, Del. We're bankrupt, Rodney shouted. Details, Rodney, details. Del stood up, pacing the small kitchen. This is just a temporary setback, a minor hiccup in the grand tapestry of Trotter fortunes. We're under new management. Remember, Managing Director Rodney Trotter. What's our first move, boss? Rodney looked at the pile of unpaid bills on the counter. Our first move is to find something to sell. Something that doesn't involve the Sultan of Brunei or the BBC. Chapter 9, The Electronic Revolution. Rodney's first official act as managing director was to meet with Monkey Harris. Monkey was a man who lived up to his name short, agile, and always looking for a way to climb a bit higher on the social ladder. He met Rodney in the back of a van parked behind the Nag's Head. I've got a consignment. Rodney, Monkey whispered, opening a cardboard box. Electronic personal organizers. Top of the range. They tell the time, store 500 names, and have a built-in calculator. They're selling like crazy in the West End. Rodney picked one up. It was a sleek, black plastic device that looked like something from a low-budget sci-fi movie. How much? For you. A tenner apiece. I've got 200 of them. Rodney calculated. 200 at 10 pounds was 2,000. If they sold them for 30, that was for 1,000 pounds profit. It wasn't 50,000, but it was a start. I'll take them, Rodney said, trying to sound executive. But I'll need to pay in installments. Cash flow. You understand? Monkey nodded. I understand. Cash flow is the soul of business. I'll drop them off at Nelson Mandela House tonight. When Rodney returned to the flat, he found Del Boy trying to fix the washing machine with a bent coat hanger. Good news, Del. I've secured our first inventory. Electronic personal organizers. The future of business. We're going to modernize Peckham. One address book at a time. Del looked at the device. Electronic organizers. People round here can barely organize a trip to the toilet. Rodney, who's going to buy these? Everyone. Busy professionals, students, anyone who needs to stay on top of their game. It's executive stress management. Del, tur chic. HMM, Del said, his eyes narrowing. They look a bit plastic. Are they waterproof? Why would they need to be waterproof? In case it rains on the market stall. Rodney, think of Voyager-Pois. Chapter 10. Iconoclastic autosuggestion. While the business world was being revolutionized by plastic organizers, the domestic world of the Trotters was entering the realm of fantasy therapy. Cassandra had insisted. After the stress of the bankruptcy and the game show disaster, she felt their relationship needed a reboot. She had found a book by an American psychologist who spoke of memory baggage and the need to create our own make-believe world. Iconoclastic autosuggestion. Rodney explained to Del Boy while they were sorting the organizers. It's about rejecting reality and becoming different people, just for an evening. Sounds like what I've been doing for 40 years. Rodney, Del quipped. What's the catch? We write down our fantasy figures, and then we become them. No dressing up. It's all in the mind. But as with everything in the Trotter household, the no dressing up rule was the first to go. Thursday night arrived. Del had agreed to take Raquel and Damien out to see a film, giving Rodney and Cassandra the flat to themselves. Or so Rodney thought. I'm taking them to see that new cartoon, Del said, adjusting his coat, the one about the singing fish. We'll be back late. Enjoy your autosuggestion. Rodney waited until the door closed. He went to his bedroom and emerged 10 minutes later wearing a leather skirt, a plastic chest plate, and sandals. He looked like he had been rejected from a high school production of Spartacus. Cassandra emerged from the bathroom. She was wearing a police uniform, complete with a hat and a plastic truncheon. Rodney, she gasped. I thought we said no dressing up. I couldn't help it. Cass, the book said to fully immerse yourself. I'm Russell Crowe in Gladiator. And I'm a detective from the Bill. Cassandra sighed. You look different. Strength and honor, Cassandra, Rodney said, striking a pose that nearly caused his chest plate to pop off. Now, let us unload our baggage. They sat on the sofa, trying to be reborn, but the atmosphere was somewhat dampened by the smell of those lingering cigar smoke and the faint sound of the neighbors' heavy metal music. So, Rodney began, trying to deepen his voice. On my signal, unleash the feelings. Rodney, I don't feel like a detective. I feel like an idiot. That's just the memory baggage talking. Reject it. You are an officer of the law. I am a hero of Rome. Suddenly, the front door burst open. We're back, Del Boy shouted, stumbling in with Raquel and Damien. The cinema was full. Apparently, every kid in Peckham wants to see a singing fish. He stopped dead. He looked at Rodney. He looked at Cassandra. Oh, my God, Del whispered, his eyes widening. Rodney, what have you done to her? Is she arresting you? It's therapy. Del, Rodney hissed, trying to hide behind a cushion. Go away. Therapy, you look like you're about to fight a lion in a police station. Del started to laugh. A deep, wheezing sound. Raquel, come and see this. Russell Crowe and the Bill are having a meeting in our front room. The fantasy was officially over. Reality hadn't just returned. It had kicked the door down and started laughing at them. Chapter 11, The Sultan's Shadow. A few days later, the executive stress was reaching a fever pitch. Marketers in Peckham were apparently resistant to digital organization. Rodney was sitting at the kitchen table, Mozart playing softly in the background, when the phone rang. Trotter's Independent Traders, Managing Director Rodney Trotter speaking, he said, trying to sound bored and important. Good evening, a voice said, with a thick, exotic accent. I am wishing to speak with Managing Director. Rodney's eyes narrowed. This is he. Who is calling? My name is Asif Hazen. I am representative of Sultan of Brunei. Rodney rolled his eyes. He looked at Del Boy, who was pretending to read the paper but was clearly listening. The Sultan of Brunei, Rodney repeated loudly. Well, how can I be of assistance, sir? His Highness has seen your advertisement in the newspaper. He is very impressed with your party planning and consultancy. Is he now? Rodney smirked. And what does His Highness want? Does he want me to fly out and organize a palace warming? Exactly. He wants you to fly to Brunei. All expenses paid. He has bought a crappy old three-wheeled van, and he wants to know where to start it on cold mornings. Rodney's smirk vanished. He slammed the phone down. Shove it, Mickey, he yelled at the dead line. Just shove it. What happened? Del asked, looking up. Dave's just had a big row with the Sultan of Brunei. It was Mickey Pierce. Del, I could hear the jukebox. He thinks he's so clever, using an accent. But as Rodney sat back down, his Mozart symphony reached a crescendo. He looked at the advertisement he had placed. He had listed consultancy and party planning. It was a professional advert. He looked at the phone. For a fleeting second, he wondered, what if the Sultan of Brunei really did have an old van? What if he really did need a consultant from Peckham? Del, Rodney whispered, do you think? Don't worry, Rodney, Del said, patting him on the shoulder. The world's full of surprises. Look at Nicky Pierce, he's only just learned to read. They sat in the quiet flat, to brothers bound by blood, bankruptcy, and a never-ending cycle of nearly and almost. They were back where they started, in Nelson Mandela House, with a mountain of debt and a box of plastic organizers. But as the neon sign of the Nags had flickered outside, Del Boy looked at his brother. This time next year, Rodney, he said, the old spark returning to his eyes. This time next year, we'll have sold all them organizers. We'll be back on top. Mange tout, Rodney. Mange tout. And in the heart of Peckham, that was enough. Chapter 12, The Ghost of Mickey Pierce. The weight of the charity call hung over the flat like a thick London fog that refused to lift. Del Boy tried to carry himself with his usual swagger, but every time he passed a television, he felt a phantom pain in his wallet. 50,000 pounds gone with a single, ego-driven outburst. I could have bought a new van, Rodney, Del whispered, staring into his lukewarm tea. A yellow one, with leather seats, and a heater that actually works. You gave it away. Del, Rodney said, not looking up from his latest business management book. You wanted to look like a big man. Well, congratulations. You're the biggest man in the soup kitchen. Rodney was trying to embrace his role as managing director, but the reality of the market stall was far from the corporate boardrooms he envisioned. The electronic organizers were currently sitting in the hallway, taking up space and gathering dust. We need a marketing strategy, Del, Rodney announced, standing up. We can't just stand on a street corner and shout. We need to target the high-end demographic of Peckham. Del snorted. The high-end demographic of Peckham is anyone who's still got all their own teeth. Rodney, just get M down to the market. I'll do the patter. No, I'm the MD. I'll do the patter. You can be the logistics coordinator. The what? Rodney, I've been selling since you were in nappies. I could sell a no-entry sign to a getaway driver. But Rodney was insistent. He wanted to prove he was more than just a bone marrow donor in a cheap suit. He spent the evening practicing his executive voice, much to Raquel's amusement and Dol's irritation. The next morning, the market was bustling. Rodney stood behind the stall, looking stiff and uncomfortable in a trench coat he thought looked professional. Del stood to the side, arms folded, waiting for the inevitable. Step right up, ladies and gentlemen, Rodney shouted, his voice cracking slightly. Experience the future of personal management. The Trotter 3000 electronic organizer stores 500 names, calculates, tells the time in Tokyo. A woman in a headscarf stopped and looked at the black plastic device. Does it tell me when the 171 bus is coming? Well, no, Rodney stammered, but it can store the bus timetable if you type it in. I can't type, she said, moving on, and I don't know anyone in Tokyo. Del Boy stepped forward, unable to restrain himself any longer. Boy, darling, come back. Don't listen to him. He's just the apprentice. Look at this, it's not just an organizer. It's a status symbol. It shows the world you're a person of substance. And look at doubles as a very stylish paperweight for your betting slips. He grabbed one and held it high. Normally 30 quid, but today, because my brother here has just been released from a psychiatric institute, and I'm feeling sorry for him, 15 quid, for 25. Within 10 minutes, Del had sold 3. Rodney watched in a mixture of awe and resentment. The executive dream was slipping away, replaced by the familiar grit of the Peckham hustle. Chapter 13, The Road Sweepers Union. As the weeks dragged on, the organizers sold in drips and drabs, but the mountain of debt to the inland revenue remained immovable. The threat of bailiffs was no longer a distant worry. It was a looming shadow that darkened every conversation. Raquel's right, Del, Rodney said one evening, looking defeated. Trigger said they're recruiting down at the depot. Road sweeping. The pay is steady. Del Boy looked like he had been slapped. Road sweeping. Me, Derek Trotter, the man who once had peacocks on his lawn. I'm a trader, Rodney, an entrepreneur. You're a bankrupt entrepreneur. Del, we need money. Real money. Not this time next year money. Del looked around the flat. He saw the peeling wallpaper, the half-empty bottles, and the tired-looking Raquel's eyes. The bravado he had worn like armor for decades was finally starting to rust. I'll help you fill in the form, Rodney offered, his voice softening. Me? Del shouted. I wasn't talking about me. You're the one who needs a job. You're young, you're fit, you can push a broom from here to Lewisham. I'm the managing director. Rodney protested. Exactly. And part of managing a company is diversifying your income streams. Now, go on get the pen and see if they've got any vacancies for a logistics consultant with his own high-vis vest. The tension in the flat was broken by a knock at the door. It was Trigger. All right, Dave, Trigger said, nodding to Rodney. It's Rodney, Trigger. Yeah, whatever. Del, I heard you were looking for a bit of work. My supervisor says he's got a spot on the night shift. It's mostly quiet. Just you and the broom. Gives you plenty of time to hear the voices. Del Boy closed his eyes. The image of himself in an orange vest, sweeping up kebab wrappers at 3 a.m. was the final indignity. Thanks, Trig, Del said, his voice surprisingly quiet. I'll think about it. After Trigger left, Del sat by the window, looking out at the estate. He thought about the watch, the millions, the Barbados sun. It all felt like a dream someone else had dreamt. Rodney, Del said, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. Did I really tell them to give that 50 grand to charity? You did, Del. You were brilliant. The whole country thinks you're a saint. Del smiled, a small, sad flick of the lips. A saint with no shoes, eh? Well, at least I'm a saint. Say la vie, Rodney. Say la vie. Chapter 14, the final word. The interview with Justin was drawing to a close. The high-end office felt even more alien now that the story had been told. The mahogany desk seemed colder, the air purifiers more sterile. Justin adjusted his glasses, scribbling a final note in his leather-bound notebook. It's a fascinating journey, Mr. Trotter, from the heights of sudden wealth to the current situation. But tell me, do you regret it? The watch, the investment, the charity call. Del Boy leaned forward. The gold on his fingers caught the light. He looked at Rodney, then back at Justin. Regret it, Del said, his voice regaining its familiar resonance. Justin, my son, life is like a market stall. Sometimes you're selling silk, and sometimes you're selling scrap. But the point is, you're always in the game. Rodney shifted in his seat, looking at his brother with a mix of exasperation and pride. We had the world in our hands for a minute, Del continued. And yeah, we dropped it. but we're trotters. We're like those little rubber balls you get in the 50p machines. The harder you hit us against the pavement, the higher we bounce. He stood up, smoothing his shimmering suit. I've got a warehouse full of electronic organizers that are going to revolutionize the world of personal management. I've got a managing director who's got more ideas than a patent office. And I've got a family that, well, they're the only thing that's actually worth $6.5 million. Justin stood up, offering his hand. Thank you, Derek. It's been an insight. I'll be in touch. As they walked out of the office and into the cool London air, Rodney turned to Del. So, what now, MD? Del Boy looked at the yellow Capri parked at the curb. It was old, it was battered, but it was theirs. Now, Rodney, Del said, his eyes sparkling with a new scheme. Now we go to the Nag's Head. I think I know a bloke who's looking for 200 slightly water-damaged electronic organizers. He's a Lap's laptop salesman, and I think he's a fan of Ravel. Rodney sighed, shaking his head. You never learn, do you? Learn? Rodney, my boy. If I learned, I'd be bored. Mange tout, Rodney. Mange tout. And as they drove off into the Peckham sunset, the neon sign of the Nag's Head flickered to life, welcoming them back to the only world they truly understood. Chapter 15, The Nag's Head Debrief. The Nag's Head was exactly as they had left it, dimly lit, smelling of stale lager and failed dreams, and populated by the usual suspects. Sid was behind the bar, looking as if he'd personally invented misery, while Trigger sat in his usual corner, nursing a half pint of something that looked like swamp water. Del Boy burst through the doors, his shimmering suit reflecting the flickering neon lights. Behind him, Rodney followed, looking like a man who had just survived a high-stakes interrogation which, in a way, he had. A round for my friends, Sid, Del shouted, slapping a 5-pound note onto the counter. And make 'em large ones. We've just been to the top of the mountain and come back with the view. Sid didn't look up from his glass polishing. The mountain. Last I heard, you were at the bottom of a bankruptcy hole. Del, that 5-pound note wouldn't even buy you a ticket out of Peckham. Details, Sid, details. Del laughed, grabbing to brandies. He walked over to Trigger. All right, Trig, you missed it. We just had a meeting with a high-flying biographer. He wanted the inside scoop on the Trotter Empire. Trigger nodded slowly, his eyes vacant. Did he ask about the voices? Del. No, Trig, he didn't. But he was very impressed with our raison d'etre. Your what? Our reason for being, Trig, Rodney intervened, sitting down. Not that Del actually knows what it means. I know exactly what it means, Rodney. Del snapped. It means we're still here, ain't we? Against all the odds. The taxman, the game shows, the Sultan of Brunei, they've all tried to knock us down. or we're like a pair of bad pennies. Boyke walked into the pub then, looking as smug as a man who had just sold a rusty tractor for the price of a Ferrari. Ah, the Trotter brothers, back from the financial wilderness. I see. I hear you've been disqualified from running companies. Derek, a bit of a choker, that. Not disqualified, Boyke, Dell said, leaning back. Under new management. Meet the managing director of Trotter's Independent Traders, Rodney Trotter-esque. Boyke let out a dry, rattling laugh. Rodney, running a company. I've seen more business acumen in a damp sponge. What's the first item on the agenda? Rodney, a national shortage of lanky idiots? Rodney went red. Actually, Boyke, we've just secured a major consignment of high-end electronic personal organizers. We're modernizing the Peckham retail sector. Electronic organizers, Boyke sneered. My dog has better organization than anyone in this pub. Who's going to buy them? People with ambition. Boyke, Dell said, his eyes narrowing. People like you. Tell you what, since we're old mates, I'll let you have a dozen for a special insider price. Think of the prestige. I'll think of the bankruptcy court, Derek, Boyke said, turning away. Enjoy your empire. Chapter 16, The Executive Lunch. Monday morning arrived with the relentless grayness of a Peckham winter. Rodney, now fully committed to his role as managing director, decided it was time to establish a new corporate culture. This involved an executive lunch with Cassandra at the local Italian restaurant, though his expense account was currently a handful of loose change and a half-punched loyalty card for the kebab. Shop! It's about prestige. Cassandra, Rodney explained as they sat at a table with a checked cloth that hadn't been washed since the 70s. A managing director needs to be seen in the right places. It builds confidence. Cassandra looked at her menu, then at Rodney's trench coat. Rodney, we're in a cafe that calls spaghetti Italian noodles, and you're bankrupt. Maybe confidence isn't what we should be building right now. Maybe we should be building a savings account. We will, once the organizers start moving. Dell says he's found a niche market. The niche market being people who don't realize they're being ripped off. Rodney sighed. You have no faith. Cass, this is the new Trotter era. No more hooky gear. No more midnight runs. We're going legit. Suddenly, the door burst open and Del Boy walked in, looking frantic. He was carrying a cardboard box that was leaking a mysterious, dark fluid. Rodney, thank God I found you. Del panted, sliding into the booth next to them. The organizers, we've got a problem. What problem? Rodney's executive comp shattered. The warehouse. Well, when I say warehouse, I mean the shed behind the Nag's Head. It had a bit of a leak, and the waterproof boxes. Well, they weren't. Rodney looked at the box. The dark fluid was soaking into the tablecloth. Del, are they ruined? Not ruined, just seasoned. I've spoken to a bloke who says if we leave them in a warm oven for 20 minutes, they'll be as good as new. But we need a warm oven, and ours is currently being used by Raquel to dry the laundry. Cassandra put her head in her hands. The new legit era. It lasted exactly 45 minutes. It's a minor setback, Dell insisted, grabbing a breadstick. I've already started the remarketing. The Trotter 3000, now with added humidity sensors. It's a feature, Rodney. People pay extra for features. Chapter 17, The Skip of Destiny. While Rodney was dealing with the damp organizers, Del Boy was on the hunt for a new opportunity. This usually involved driving the yellow Capri around the back streets of Peckham, looking for skips that looked promising. You never know what people throw away. Raquel, Del said as he poked her on a large metal container outside a derelict office building. One man's rubbish is another man's. Well, another man's profit margin. He pulled out a tangled mess of copper wire and a dusty, ornate frame that looked like it belonged in a haunted house. Look at this. It's a genuine Victorian. Something, probably priceless. Del, it's a broken picture frame with dry rot. Raquel said, staying in the van. And it's covered in pigeon droppings. Character, Raquel. It's called patina. People in the West End pay thousands for patina. I'll get Rodney to research it. He's the MD now. He needs to earn his keep. Back at the flat, Rodney was staring at the copper wire. Del, this isn't an opportunity. This is theft from a demolition site. It's recycling. Rodney, we're being green. We're saving the planet while we save the family firm. Now, look at this frame. What does it say to you? Rodney looked at the crumbling wood. It says tetanus, Del. No, it says heritage. I want you to go down to the library and find out if any famous painters lived in this area. If we can link this frame to, say, Constable or Turner. Well, bonjour, Rodney. We're back in the millions. Del, Constable painted Hay Wains in Suffolk, not tower blocks in Peckham. Maybe he had a holiday home here. Just look it up. And while you're at it, see if you can find out how much scrap copper is going for. I've got a feeling our luck is about to change. Chapter 18, Trigger's Wisdom. Late that night, Del found himself back at the Nag's Head. Rodney had gone home to argue with Cassandra about the ethics of scrap metal, and Raquel was busy with Damien. Del needed a sympathetic ear, and as usual, Trigger was the only one available. Trig, Del said, staring into his brandy. Do you think I'm a failure? I mean, look at me, bankrupt, sweeping roads mentally, if not literally yet, managing director of a company that's currently storing damp address books in a kitchen oven. Trigger blinked slowly. I don't think you're a failure. Del, you've got a nice suit. It's polyester, Trig. It sparkles because of the static. I like the sparkles, Trigger said. But you know what I think? I think life is like a broom. You can have the same broom for 20 years. You just have to change the head and the handle every now and then. Dell looked at him. Trig, that's the same broom. You've just replaced all the parts. Exactly, Trigger said, looking satisfied. And that's you. Dell, you've replaced your houses, your cars, your money, but you're still the same broom. You just keep sweeping. Dell let out a long, shaky breath. You know, Trig, for a man who hears voices, you make a lot of sense sometimes. I am the broom, and Peckham is my warehouse. Do you want to know what the voices said today, Dell? Not really, Trig. They said ravel, just the one word, over and over again. Dell stiffened. Ravel. Why ravel? I don't know, Trigger said, finishing his drink. Maybe they like his shoes. Dell sat in the silence of the pub, the word ravel echoing in his mind. Was it a sign, a curse, or just the ghost of a 50,000-pound mistake that would haunt him for the rest of his life? Chapter 19, The Organizer Meltdown. The oven drying experiment was, perhaps unsurprisingly, a catastrophe. Rodney had left the Trotter 3000s in the oven for exactly 20 minutes, as Dell had instructed. What Dell hadn't mentioned was that the oven shouldn't be set to max. When Rodney opened the oven door, a cloud of acrid, black smoke billowed out, filling the flat. My organizers, Rodney screamed, waving a tea towel. They're melting. Dell, they're literally melting together. Del Boy ran into the kitchen, coughing. Oh, bloody hell. It's a modern art installation. Quick, Rodney, get a photo. We can sell it as a commentary on the digital age. It's not art, Del. It's 2,000 pounds of debt turning into a plastic pancake. The smell was unbearable. Raquel came in, holding her nose. What in God's name is going on? The neighbors are calling the fire brigade. It's a technical glitch, Raquel, Del shouted. A minor manufacturing defect. Rodney, stop crying and get the spatulas. We might be able to save a few of the calculators. They spent the next 3 hours scraping melted plastic off the oven racks. Out of the 200 organizers, only 3 survived, and even those only worked if you held them at a 45-degree angle and shouted at them in Japanese. Well, Del said, looking at the small pile of charred plastic, at least we've still got the scrap copper. The scrap copper that you found in a skip, Rodney whispered, his voice broken. The copper that's currently sitting in the hallway smelling like dead pigeons? It's a start, Rodney. The entrepreneur always starts small. We'll go down the yard tomorrow. We'll get a few quid. We'll buy a lottery ticket. And before you know it, don't say it, Del, Rodney groaned. Just don't say it. Chapter 20, The Midnight Sweep. The final indignity arrived at 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday. Del Boy, dressed in a high-visibility vest that was several sizes too large, stood on a deserted street corner in Peckham. In his hand was a heavy, industrial broom. Trigger was next to him, looking perfectly at home. It's a good shift, this one. Del, not many people are out to bother you. Just the wind and the wrappers. Del looked down at his broom. He thought about the silk shirts, the gold-leafed villas, and the sound of the Sotheby's gavel. He thought about the millions he had held in his hand, and the way it had slipped through his fingers like sand. Trig, Del said, his voice barely a whisper. How did I end up here? You walked, Del, from the flat. It's only 10 minutes. Del smiled. He started to sweep. The rhythmic sound of the bristles against the pavement was strangely soothing. He swept up a discarded lottery ticket, a crushed beer can, and a crumpled newspaper. You know what, Trig? Del said, his spirits beginning to rise. This isn't so bad. It's honest work, and it gives me time to think, to plan, to strategize. Strategize what, Del? The next big one, Trig. I've been thinking about those singing fish. If we can find a supplier who makes 'em with a built-in organizer. Well, mange tout, Trig, mange tout. Trigger nodded. I like fish. And there, in the quiet streets of Peckham, under the flickering orange glow of the streetlights, Derek Trotter began his comeback. He wasn't a millionaire anymore. He was a bankrupt road sweeper with a melted plastic dream and a skipful of copper wire. But as the first light of dawn began to touch the top of Nelson Mandela House, Del Boy looked at the horizon and winked. Because the Trotters were back. And this time, they meant business. Chapter 21, The Efficiency of the Broom. Morning brought a new kind of fatigue, the kind that settles into your marrow and stays there. Del Boy sat at the Formica table, his orange high-vis vest draped over the back of the chair like a discarded superhero cape. Rodney was already up, surrounded by sheets of graph paper and a calculator that was missing its 0 button. I've worked it out, Del, Rodney announced, tapping a pencil against his teeth. Route optimization. If you sweep the main estate in a concentric spiral starting from the central play area, you can cut 3 miles off your shift and improve debris collection by 14%. Del looked at him with bloodshot eyes. Rodney, I'm a road sweeper, not a Mars rover. The debris collection is already optimized by the wind. It all ends up in front of the nag's head anyway. That's the problem. You're reactive. Del, you need to be proactive. Managing director's orders. We're going to run this cleaning operation like a Swiss watch. Del snorted, reaching for a piece of cold toast. Swiss watch. More like a sundial in a coal cellar. My back is killing me. Rodney. And Trigger keeps talking to the pigeons. He thinks they're working for the council. Well, maybe they are. Information is power. Del. The tension was broken by the sound of a heavy box being dropped in the hallway. It was Monkey Harris, looking suspicious as usual. I've got him. Rodney. Monkey shouted from the hall. The aquatic prototypes, straight from the factory in Shenzhen, or maybe a shed in Croydon, the labels were a bit blurry. Dell pushed himself up. Interest finally peaked. The singing fish. Singing fish. Monkey pulled a sample from the box. It was a rubbery, green bass mounted on a plaque. It looked like it had been through a car wash on the wrong setting. These are the limited editions. Dell, they don't just sing, they tell jokes. Dell pressed a button on the base. The fish flicked its tail, opened its mouth, and in a high-pitched, metallic voice, squeaked. Why did the salmon cross the road? To get to the other. Error 404. Rodney looked horrified. It's broken. It's not broken. Rodney, Dell shouted, his eyes sparkling with a new scheme. It's a cliffhanger. It's an interactive comedy experience. People love a mystery. We'll sell them as philosophical fish. They make you think. Chapter 22. The Aquatic Opportunity. By the end of the week, the Trotter Flat was a sanctuary for 200 rubbery fish that occasionally burst into snippets of "Don't worry, be happy" in the middle of the night. Rodney had developed a marketing plan involving premium executive office decor, while Dell had a more direct approach. The back of the Capri. Prestige is